All right, guys, so now that we set up our reducer and actions file for settings, you can see if we look in our Redux tools here, you'll see settings. Okay, and if I look in there, we have our values. So what I want to do now is create our settings component. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So let's do that and log in. And we're basically going to have a link to our settings up here. But let's go ahead and create what we need to, so I can close these up for now. I'm gonna add a route first before I forget. So if we go to app.js, we're going to pull in the settings component, which we haven't created yet, but we will. It's in settings / settings, like that. Settings, and it's going to be, obviously the user has to be authenticated, so I'm going to copy, we'll say copy the dashboard route, and we'll go down here and paste this in and change this to settings, and then change the path to /settings, like that. Okay, and make sure it's in user is authenticated. It's going to give you an error because we don't have that component created yet. So let's go to settings in the components folder, and let's create a file called settings.js. All right, and let's see. So we're going to bring in quite a few things here. Let's see. Let's copy. Well, we'll just do RCC, and let's export down here. Okay, so we also want to bring in link from React Router. And let's bring in prop types, do IMPT. And we also want connect because we need the setting state. Okay, let's see what else. We also want those actions, and remember the actions we created in the last video. We want to do that, so let's do, want to import from /actions/settings actions, and there's 3 we want to bring in. So we want to bring in set allow registration, set disable balance on add, and set disable balance on edit. I want to bring all of those in. All right, so now that we did that, let's see, let's create our form. So basically we're going to have like a form with some checkboxes. Actually no, let's get what we need first. We're also going to need, are we going to get Firebase? Yeah, we're going to get the auth, but we're not going to need Firebase Connect here because we're not calling any, or Firestore Connect or anything like that, because we're not calling any methods. We do want to get the auth from the state, but we don't need Firebase Connect for that. We can just bring in, it's from state.firebase to firebase.auth. So here, let's export default connect. We don't need compose because we don't need Firebase Connect or Firestore Connect. So let's say connect, and inside here, let's put in an arrow. Let's go like that, and then that's going to take in state and props. Okay, and then inside here, we're going to have auth, and we'll set that to state.firebase.auth. And then we also want our settings state, which comes from state.settings. Now we have a few actions, so remember actions are going to go in here as well. So I'm going to put a comma here and then put in all of our actions. So we have set allow registration, set disable balance on add and set disable balance on edit. Okay, so let's see, we might as well put our prop types in while we're at it. So let's say, what's this component called again? Settings dot prop types. So we have settings, which is an object. We have all of our actions are actually props too, so we want set disable on add prop types dot, that's a function, so we want dot func is required, and then let's put in two more. So this one is on edit, and then this one is set allow registration. All right, so those are our props. Yeah, so now that we did that, let's start to construct the markup. So up here in the render, let's pull out the values from settings. So this .props.settings has the value of disable balance on add, on edit, and allow registration. It has all those values, so let's pull those out. So we want disable balance on add and disable balance on edit and allow registration. We want to pull those out of this .props.settings. Whoops, I'm sorry, this should be in the render. It's just like in the middle of nowhere, above the return. Okay, so if you're not clear on this, the reason that this .props.settings is available to us is because of this right here. We brought it in from our Redux state and we assigned it to a prop. That's what we did here. And then we can access these values which are in that settings state, okay, or I should say in that settings object. So this will give us the true false values. Now what we're going to do is in the return, let's do return div, and let's put a row here, and let's put a call dash, we'll do call dash md dash 6, and I just want to have a link, a back to dashboard link like we've had on other pages. So this will go to slash, and give it a class name of btn and btn-link. Okay, and then it's going to have an icon, so it's going to have a class of FAS and also FA-arrow-circle-left. And then next to it, we'll say back to dashboard. All right, and then let's see. Let's just save this, and let's make sure we can actually go to settings. So if we go to slash settings, there we go, good. So now underneath the row, so right here underneath the row, we're going to put in a card, and let's put in a card header inside here. So class of card dash header, and the text will say edit setting, and underneath that we're going to have a card body. Okay, and then inside the body is where we're going to have our form. So let's say form, we don't need an action, and we're going to have a form group. And then the field, actually we'll have a label first. We don't need a for. And this is going to be allow registration. And I'm just going to put a space here. And then let's put an input, which is going to have a type of checkbox. Okay, so checkbox, the name is going to be allow registration. No ID. What we are going to do here is I want this to be checked if the allow registration is set to true. So the way that we do this is we set checked equal to not allow registration. All right, now, which looks kind of weird, but this is how we have to do it. And this allow registration is coming from the props.settings up here. So this is getting sent down from Redux, and it'll be checked based on that. And then we also need to have an on change, and we're going to set that to this dot allow registration. We're not just going to have an on change for all of them because they're all different. You'll see why. But we're going to set that to its own method of allow registration. And then we're going to do the same for the others. So let's copy this form group. And underneath this, we're going to paste in 2 more. So the second one is going to be, this is going to be disable balance on add. Change the name to disable balance on add, and then we want this to be checked if this is disable balance on add, and then on change. Actually, you know what I wanted to do is set it to this one, the on change. I want to set it to this dot allow registration change. That'll be the name of the function. Same thing here. This will be disable balance on add change. Okay, and then this one here, you know what I'll do is just copy this and replace this. And then just change it to edit. Oops, I forgot a D on that. So this will be on edit. Edit. All right. So let's see. Let's save this. And let's see what happens when we go to it. All right, so disable balance on add is checked. So let's look in our state and look in settings, and you can see disable balance on add is actually set to true. If I check, now it's not actually going to let me check or uncheck because it's a controlled component, just like with a text input. So what we need to do is create these methods here: disable balance, edit on change, this one on change. So let's create those. So we'll put that right above the render. Okay, so we're going to say disable balance on add change. That's the name of the function. And let's set that to an arrow. And we're going to create a variable here called set disable balance on add, because we want to pull that out of this dot props. Okay, because that's an action. That's one of these actions. And then we just want to call that function. So we'll say set disable balance on add. So what's happening is when we hit the checkbox of disable balance on change, this will fire off and it'll actually call this action, which will, if we look at the action, will return this to the reducer. And if we look at the reducer, it will toggle the state from true to false or false to true, whatever it is. All right, so we want to do this with all of these. So let's copy this and paste it in 2 more times. This one will be on edit change. And we want to pull this action out. And then we want to call that action. Okay, then we want to, this one is allow registration change. Is that right? Allow registration change. Is that what it is? Yeah, it's called this dot allow registration change. Should do on, but whatever, it's fine. And then we want to change this to set allow registration. We're pulling that out of the props, and then we're going to call it. All right. So now it should let us check and uncheck the boxes. So if I uncheck that, you can see that the state has actually changed. Settings, the disable balance on add has gone from true to false. If I check it again, it goes from false to true. This is showing us the state, the difference. If I check allow registration, that goes from false to true. Okay? Now, if I reload, it's going to reset because it's not being persisted anywhere. It's just basically changing it for that paint of the DOM. Once we refresh the page, it goes back to whatever is the default right here. Okay? Now, obviously, that's not what we want. What we want to do is persist it to local storage. So basically, what I want ultimately is when we uncheck this, it shouldn't just set this piece of state, it should also set it in local storage so that that can be true throughout our whole application so that we can actually use it. Because when we disable the balance on add, that means when we add a user, this should be disabled. Okay, when we disable it on edit and we go to edit a user, this should be disabled. When we allow registration, we're going to make it so that the user is able to register, okay, from the application. So I think the last thing to do here in this video is to just add settings to the menu so that we can actually get to it without typing it in. So let's do that. Let's go to our app nav bar. We'll close this stuff up for now and go to app nav bar, which is, where is it? Layout. Okay, so let's see. So we want to pull out, actually we want to bring in the settings from the state. We haven't done that. So down in connect, let's bring, whoops, what the heck? Let's put a comma here and let's bring in settings from state.settings. And then we also have to add that as a prop type. So settings, and that's an object, is required. Okay, and then let's go, see, where do we want to put this? We'll put it, so is authenticated, we have the email that shows, and then we have the logout link. Let's put it right in between there. So it's going to be a link. So I'm actually going to copy this right here, this LI with the link inside to the dashboard, and put this in the middle here, and then change this to settings and link to settings. All right, we'll save that. We'll go back and wait a minute. Okay, so I didn't actually need to bring in settings here right now, but we will need it. We're going to need it so that we can display the login and register link if a registration is allowed. So I'm just going to leave this as is for now, but I didn't actually need to bring this in right now. But let's make sure we can see settings, which we can. If we click on it, it takes us to the page. Good. All right, cool. So in the next video, we're going to implement local storage so that our settings will get saved there so they can actually persist somewhere, or else they're pretty much useless. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.